It's time for Get the Lax Scoop, a podcast bringing you all the people and stuff you should know in the game of lacrosse. We take lax seriously, but ourselves, not so much. Join hosts Big Dog and Jaybird and the biggest names in the game. Brought to you by Jay McMahon Lacrosse. That's JML, skills, mindset, and lax IQ training.
Ron Dalgliesh, the Big Dog, was a collegiate football and lacrosse player at Brown. He was also an assistant lacrosse coach and the executive director of the Sports Foundation.
And Jay McMahon, the Jaybird, a three-time All-American midfielder at Brown. He was a captain of the U.S. Junior National Team and is the founder of JML. And joining us in the studio, Steve Grisolfi, whose collegiate lacrosse career statistics equals 1 goal against Dartmouth.
Ninth grade comes, you really can't play soccer and all these other sports. You got to just pick soccer. I know lacrosse doesn't do that. I don't think basketball does that. But for these lacrosse people who are listening, give us an idea of the age and then how this leads into the recruiting process.
What is your expectation? Straight up. What's your expectation in terms of...
Let's say someone wants to go Division I in lacrosse. Or 1, 2, or 3. Let's start with Division I, though.
I mean, that's a beautiful point, though. 1, 3... There's a massive overflow. Like your NESCACs, your top 20 D3 schools are very, very good. Very good. You're going to struggle to get on the field as a freshman unless you're totally committed and you're a beast. Now, with that said, like if, like your expectation is to play Division I lacrosse and you might need a scholarship, okay, like you need to examine that. Right? Like if you are, I don't know, like I almost feel like I'm in this political spectrum now, but if you have an expectation, like my dad played Ivy League lacrosse. I need to play Ivy League lacrosse. Then buddy, get on your horse. A's, period. And you need to play every day. And if that's your expectation. So, it just really depends. Like if you want to go to college and play a sport and you want to dabble in your like town high school programs and you're spirited, all those things, that's great. I love that, all that. But you have to manage your expectation, right? Because if you have these expectations that are super high, right? And you fall short of one, you fall short of the next, you fall short of the next, it doesn't work that way. You need to set a goal specific to what you want to do as a player. And by the way, we're talking about the kids, right? We're not talking about the bumper sticker. All right. We're not talking about what you want for the water cooler or the cocktail party. We're talking about your child. What's the best move for them? Right.
Right.
And it might not always jive. All right. And that's a tough conversation. Parents, they probably already turned us off. Podcast got deleted, whatever. But it is real. It is a reality because it might not always jive. And, the rose-colored glasses are real. And dealing with club players day in and day out and parents. And at the end of the day, I say, like, if you're watching your son, you're watching film, you're a defenseman. If you get beat, and you're a defenseman, you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems getting recruited. If you're a Fogo and you're under 40%, Andy's, stud Fogo coach, etc. You're under 40, 50%, trouble. You're an attackman and you can't beat your man. I'm a feeder. Bullshit. Okay?
Right.
If you're a defender, if you're a midi, okay? And I'm a little bit in the middle of this one. Like you could be a stud D midi and be a huge resource for a coach, but you better never get beat. Okay. If you're a midfielder offensively, right? What are your points? Like you have to score. You have to score, period. Righty, lefty, all those things.
Right. So looking at it black and white.
I want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
It's very important to me. Kids need to play righty and lefty. Okay. And I love my boys from up north, but we are USA lacrosse. All right. We're not backhanded shovel passing. We are two hands split either way, diverse, play any position. Let's get back to that guy.
Right.
Let's get back to the guy that can do everything. Shoot righty, lefty. Okay. I shot 109 right-handed. I shot 100 left-handed because that's what Skip told me to do.
That's awesome. I remember when I was in high school, Andy Krause was a year ahead of me, and we had a faster shot. And he stepped up and he shot, maybe 90 or something with it. He was left-handed. And then he put the stick in his right hand. And this is senior year in high school, maybe even junior year, and he shot it like 88 with his offhand. So yeah, you took it up a notch, DE, but that's awesome.
But look, in your respect with you, that was probably with an SL2 or a Sam.
Right.
Okay.
But that totally motivated me seeing that. I'm like, I've got to be able to do that if I want to be as good as this guy, So yeah, I like it. I love it. Now, Andy, with both boys and girls with travel lacrosse, everybody's playing a lot of games. And sometimes I feel like the players, I've coached a lot of players too over the years. I feel like they get this mentality of like, well, I'm playing so many games and I go to practice. I don't need to practice on my own. Like they don't even take the time. And I try to explain to them, if you're going to these games and even at practice, we don't have a lot of time to fix your form, and you just keep shooting with the wrong form, you're not going to be hitting the cage. So what would be your advice for kids as far as, you've been an extremely successful skills trainer. I know, as David just said, with his program, that's part of the routine at Laxachusssets. What is your advice to our audience, parents, boys, girls out there, as far as putting time into the skills? You said how David his dad, Skip, would have him out there shooting X number of shots. Like, what's a legitimate routine for these kids, and what do you think they need to put into that, their individual skills?
Yeah, I talk when I talk about how these kids are evaluated, whether it's being evaluated town people that are choosing the A team versus the B team, whether it's high school coaches, who's going to make the varsity and who's not, whether it's college recruiters, these guys are really these players are really evaluated in four ways, right? They're evaluated from an athletic standpoint. Are they athletic enough to win the situation? Can the coach trust that, right? Are they skilled enough to win, or are they skilled enough to execute their respective decisions with consistency? Getting back to what David just said, like everything that we do in our program, we're doing righty and lefty every single time. We're doing it off of 3 levels of pressure. So you can not only have to throw righty and lefty, you have to be able to throw off of the splits, off of the rolls, and sidearm push passes and sidearm pull passes, right? And so, having that skill set, which is stick work, stick handling, ground ball play, and shooting, those are all things that you can work on your own, right? And so anybody that isn't consistently, and David said, you got to touch it every day. And I agree 100%. You've got to love the work. We talked a few minutes ago about, guys that work after practice and how much, we would stay after practice, do one-on-ones and all that sort of stuff. Like, you've got to love the work. Otherwise, you're simply you're going to lose to the people that do love the work. And there's enough people that love the work that you're going to be shit out of luck if you don't love the work and are willing to do it all the time. Athleticism, skill set. The next one is IQ. IQ is simply knowing what to do based on what the situation is and based on your respective role within that situation, right? Are you on defense? If you are you on ball, you off ball? Is it settled or unsettled? If you're on offense, do you have the ball or are you off ball? Is it settled or unsettled? And having an awareness of how to play the situation the right way, regardless of what your role is. And those are things that you really can only develop when you're working in group situations. You can certainly watch film and watch games, and I encourage all these kids to watch, D1 games and watch college games and watch, the PLL and all this sort of stuff, because you can certainly become a smarter player by watching the best players play. But again, those are things that you can only do in a group. And then the last thing that these guys are evaluated in, and this is what I think is perhaps the most important one, are a player's intangibles, right? And a player's intangibles are the things that you decide about yourself that you want other people to see in you and say about you, right? And all of these things are a choice. None of them are a limitation, right? You want people to say you're hyper competitive. That's a choice. You can either decide that you're not going to fucking lose, or you can decide that you're good with it, right? You can decide whether you're coachable, right? You can either listen to the coach's message, or you can get wrapped up in the packaging and say, he doesn't like me. Shut the fuck up. He doesn't like pussies. That's what he doesn't like, right? Are you authentically team first, regardless of what your role is on game day? There's a million people that we've played with and over the years that are as gung-ho and out for the team success as long as they're playing on the first midfield and they're starting in the center of the 3-3. But as soon as they get beat out by somebody that, maybe they don't even think that person is better than them, all of a sudden they start to motherfuck the coach and talk, basically become a team cancer, being mentally tough, as I said before, hearing the message, not the package, being physically durable. This is a huge one for me, right? You either want to play or you don't want to play. And the amount of kids that, don't practice or don't go to games or sit out because they're hurt when you just don't have a lot of opportunities. You're either finding a way to play or you're finding a way to not play. And I think physical durability is also a decision. I'm not talking about people that, you have a snapped femur. Well, suck it up, Andy. That's a unique situation. That's, obviously you can't play in that situation. But aches and pains, so much of sports is being able to manage that. The guys that manage the pain the most are usually the ones that end up winning the most often. And I think that those four things, athleticism, skill set, IQ, and intangibles, make up a player. And I think that you can control three of them, right? Your athleticism, you can enhance it a little bit with strength condition, but you kind of are what you are, right? But you directly control your skill set. And so when you got kids that aren't skilled and they're making the same stick mistakes over and over and over again, that's a kid that doesn't love the work. Otherwise, he would fix those things. Right. If you're making the same decisions that are not correct, you're either dumb as a sack of hammers or you're not coachable. Right. You're just refusing to listen to, your coaches and the other players that you play with. And then the last part is you got a shitty attitude and you're not disciplined and you're not willing to push through discomfort, play through pain, and be mentally tough and be hyper competitive and be authentically out for your teammates' success. It's one of the things that David was so good at. And you two were, Jay. You were as well, Jay, and you, Dog, as well. Yeah. I think the best teams have that as a characteristic of the culture, right? Guys that play and embrace and are stewards to their teammates' successes. Those are all the things that go into developing yourself as a player. And, having an awareness that those variables exist is the key to being able to check those things off, as reasons why you won't be successful. And if you do that, you got a good chance. And if you aren't successful and you do all those things, then who the fuck cares? Because you can't do anything more than doing everything you can proactively to get the desired result. And if you don't get it, you go down swinging, and that is success. Right.
And I would say it's the same exact thing for college players going to be pros or a kid going from the JV to the varsity. I feel like it's the same tenets you just said. It's the same exact stuff at every level. It's just doing it better and better.
I think it's the same thing when you prepare to take a test in school, when you're chasing the girl you want to date, when you're trying to get a promotion at work. None of it is, it's all the same thing. Right. The guys that are proactive, love the work, and are disciplined and can do it when they don't feel like doing it. I say all the time, everything that we do in my program is competitively based. And if you win, you get 2 minutes of water. And if you lose, you get 2 minutes of planks, no water. And if your knees hit during the planks, then you're out of the rest of the session. And I've got third grade girls that can do planks like you cannot believe because they don't want to miss out on the session. But as soon as their knees hit, they're gone. And they learn to adapt. I tell them all the time, if there was a big basket of snakes right there, you could do a plank for 10 minutes. So don't tell me you can't do it for 2 minutes. It's a decision, right? And if people make the decisions to check all the boxes that are effort, toughness, and competitive spirit related, they're going to get a ton of success in their lives.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So Dave and Andy, we're going to end with 2 speed round answers. So yes, we are asking you to shorten your ansers.
We're loving these answers.
That's okay, because I gotta go anyway. I want to lift weights.
Yeah, all right. Still competing, David. All right, hey, look.
I'm gonna get the car and floor it into a telephone pole.
Let's get very specific here in terms of your advice. Okay, you guys both know this inside and out. And when we talk about the college recruiting process, let's say we've got a sophomore, high school sophomore. Okay, let's say they love the work.
2025.
Yep, a 2025. They love the work, okay? And they're just now starting to think about how they can get noticed.
And this is the fall? Ron, this is the fall or what time of year? You guys tell us in this sophomore year. Go ahead.
Jay,
Sorry,
I thought
Ron.
I was asking the question.
I want to
You're
make
a
sure you're
sophomore.
doing
Jesus.
it the
I mean,
right way,
once-
Ron.
once
Do
an
it right for our people,
All-American-
please.
Once an All-American, always an All-American. He just can't let me ask the question.
Just do it right.
Good Lord. Okay, Jay. It's the fall of my sophomore year.
Thank you.
We'll be even more specific. Where do they start? What are the three things you got to do as a high school sophomore in the fall to start your process? College recruiting. Andy, you go first. What are my three things I'm going to do?
Get better, get better, get better. Those would be all three things, all the same thing. Work on becoming a better athlete, work on becoming more skilled, work on developing a greater IQ, and work on being aware that you're constantly developing your intangibles. Everybody's making a decision on you with everything that you do in and out of the classroom, on and off the field, in and out of the community.
Great.
David.
Weight room. If you're not in a program, you better get in a badass program quick. Someone checking your percentages, increasing every week. Andy said, get better. Like, he hit that. Okay. So I like, you got to be big, tough, strong. You got to be playing. And then I also think that you have to like set certain goals, like for what you want to do. It's a big picture type thing, depending on where you start. And, you know, if you're starting from square one, like you haven't been in the weight room yet, like it's going to be an uphill climb, right? If you're there and you're in the thick of it, okay, then like Andy said, you need to put yourself against the right competition, find the right competition, which probably means playing for like a pretty good program that plays against the right competition in that top tier.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that aren't playing in that group. And then if you can, you will get noticed. And, you know, you got also regionally, depending where you are, like, I don't love prospect days. All right. I don't love them, but depending on your region, you might need them. They might be a necessity and you might need to attend certain ones. Find those prospect days that will pit you up against the top talent in the country. It's generally going to be a private prospect day, not a university school run. I'm sorry for all the college coaches out there, but they can't regulate the talent coming in. It's an NCAA violation. They open it up, 40 spots, 50 spots, boom, they're filled. That's it. Okay. Right. It's not their fault. All right.
So how do you find these other prospect days, the private ones? They're done by the clubs, or who does?
Yeah, they're all over. I'm not even going to go there because I don't want to like pump someone's tires without like actually.
But they could Google that basically. No, I agree. You don't want to.
You can also talk, if you talk to a coach who's, you know, I'd say like pretty astute in the process. They're going to know the right ones to go to and attend. They're going to need to get you in because most of them are invite. Most of the top ones are invite only. But if you do a little scratching, you can figure that out. Lord knows, like most of these players are very resourceful. They'll figure that out.
Right. So, okay. Good. Very
good. So a couple of takeaways there. So many people spend so much time on the process and trying to figure out the recruiting process, and they're spending way more time on that than they are actually getting better. And so what I hear from both of you, if you're good enough, if you work hard enough, the process will take care of itself.
Significantly.
Right. And then I was throwing there too. You guys are doing a great job of saying, how do I know I'm better? You're beating your guy consistently. Yeah. You're winning more than 50% of your face-offs. When you shoot 10 shots, 6 of them go in, right? You got to look at this black and white, right? I like it. Beautiful.
All right, Jay, you got our last question here.
Okay, so quick, guys, final question, and we'd love for each of you guys to respond. You've both had some amazing experiences over the years, college, junior team USA, pro, and it probably would be very tough to identify the best moment, but come up with one of the most memorable moments of your entire lacrosse lifetime here. Andy, you go first.
Wow, that's tough.
It's a toughie.
Just one?
You can give a couple.
All right, I'll give a couple.
Top 2 or 3.
Okay. First one, sophomore year in high school, we started 8 sophomores and we won the state championship. That was nice. That was an unbelievable experience. Junior year at Brown, going, in the regular season, we had a great run. Unfortunately, we didn't play our best game against Maryland, and we lost in the quarters, which was a real shitty way to end a season that I felt
All of us didn't, I would agree, except you had your best game of the year. Got to give yourself clicks there. 5 goals and an assist.
Yeah, but they weren't meaningful. When you're down 13-6, those goals don't really matter.
It came thundering back. It was 15-13. Come on.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And then certainly, coaching David's team that went to the Final Four at Brown was just euphoric. I mean, it was an incredible experience. And we were the only team to beat the eventual national championship team, Princeton, that year.
Amazing.
That was great. And then my last one would be winning the PLL Championship in 21. That was an incredibly rewarding feeling after coaching college lacrosse and not having a lot of success as a head coach to be able to win the PLL Championship. I felt got a little bit of a monkey off my back as a coach.
That's so awesome. And I, to this day, wish I had knocked that security guard down and ran out onto the field. Dang it. He was a chump. I was bigger than him. All right, David, how about you?
I don't know.
It's tough.
LTRC. I don't know. What were you, 11, 12s? I don't even remember the age group. 11, 12s. We didn't have a chance. Norrisfield. They had 22 eventual Division I players on their team. We had 4.
Wow.
And not for nothing, but our 4 were Ivy League guys. All 4 were Ivy League guys. I think I'm the outlier there. Like I was like an asterisk. Like they let him in, but we beat him. We beat him then. And my dad had a hoe. She'll never forget that, dude. He had a garden hoe.
Yeah.
And he shows up to the game, and all the parents are freaked out because they're like scared to skip. You should be.
I had Matt skip. I was
always
scared.
scared of
He's
skip.
I was
standing
scared
at
to
the end of
skip.
the bench, and
You
the
should
one
be scared of skip.
One kid's dad is like, "You got to go talk to him. What's he doing? I don't understand what he's doing."
And I'm glad it was a gardening hoe.
And then my one buddy comes off. He's a midfielder. Comes off and he grabs his foot and takes the hoe and rakes his cleat. Right, it's all grass field. He rakes his cleat real quick, lets it down, turns, boom. Right, halfway through. This is Spook Hillgardner. This is Andy Hillgardner, Peter Hillgardner, and Rife's dad. He was my coach. Right, goes and puts duct tape on his mouth, on my dad's mouth. Like, dude, like, that's like taking your life in your own hands.
Oh yeah.
And he stood there. I look over on the sideline and I was like, what the fuck? Right? We won, but these are the emotions going through. Boom. So go through that. And then U19 tryout. I wasn't ranked in the top 250 players. Like 250 guys get invited. I was an alternate.
That's insane.
Rob Chomo, God bless him. Rob Chomo never left Annapolis for anything. He's going to Maryland. He never went to camps. He was, I don't know. He was just like a homebody, whatever. Anyway, he didn't go. And Jim Moorhead, who's the head coach at St. Mary's, nominated me in his place. And that's how I got to go to the U19 tryout.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm walking out the door. And my dad says, do you know what you're going to do? And to this day, it resonates with me like he's sitting here in the room. And I said to him, no, I'm just going to go play my ass off. And he goes, all you got to do is put the fucking ball in the goal.
Nice.
So
Love it.
That's what I did. And that was a big deal and kind of, I don't know if it necessarily put me on the map. I knew who I was, but I think other people needed to know that. And then Andy's right. 94 is fucking crazy.
Incredible.
Man.
And you guys, I think you started 1-4, right?
Yeah.
And to have the belief, we ripped
We
off
were-
one win after the next, undefeated in the
Yeah.
Ivy League. I mean, Princeton
Quote
was maybe,
McNally, Brian McNally, he's like, we were really good. We just, like we got nipped by Duke at Loyola. That was a tight game.
We lost to Hofstra.
Dude, we were beating Hofstra by 7. And they
the
came
backs
back.
were against the wall. And you just,
Dude, we were up
Amazing.
7-2 at half. We're like,
What did we win 11 games in a row? We was 1-4 to 12-4, and then we finished 12-5. Is that right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember 1-4 to 12-4 in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Hey, Dave, I'm so glad you shared that story because Jim Moorhead was my high school coach, one of the most influential people in my life. I say I never end up, going to an Ivy League school without him. And so that is a great story that he ended up getting you to that tryout. And how insane that you weren't one of the top 250 players in the country. I mean,
well, I would say, you know
unbelievable.
what? We got a lot of young listeners. Anybody's listening, I hope, pardon my French and whatever, but like Instagram, social media, everything is like about rankings and what's going on like nationally. And I would be the first to tell you, like, based on what I just told you, like, don't read the hype. Like, stay focused on your goal and stay focused on you and what you want to do. And, you know, like you're going to see plenty of guys on like some ranking that you play against. And you're like, I just beat that guy. I went 4-4 against him. He's ranked, 100 spots ahead of me. Don't worry about it, man. Like it is all about like you and getting to that spot where you're in front of the right people and then lay it down. And your training and your work ethic will show.
That's
or lack thereof. Because if you expect to show up and check a box, it is not going to happen, dude.
right.
Well, Jay Bird,
All the time.
Let
Nobody
right.
gets a say in writing the end of your story if you don't let them, right?
Right. And the thing with one of the things we talk about with my training stuff is we're learning from this guy, Brian Kane, and he's like, you're not going to rise to the occasion. You are going to fall back on your training. And you're not falling, but the point is you're just what Coach Evans said right there, listeners. All right. You have got to have trained and be prepared. Your preparation is the separation. So then when you show up, it's going to shine through, right? You're ready to ball out there. You're ready to just give it your all, but you've got to prepare ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. You're not going to
Great
rise to the occasion.
stuff,
You're going to
guys.
fall back on your training. Beautiful. Does Mr. Grisalfi have some listener questions?
Hey
Yeah, I
guys,
think we-
thanks very much. I know we're going a little long, so as you can imagine, our viewers are very excited about this lineup and
Awesome
sent in a
stuff you
bunch of
gave us today,
questions.
guys. Tremendous.
Tremendous.
Yeah, we had Andy. We had some questions in here about Czechs table hockey, the Brown inter-squad face-off tournaments, getting stung. Well, let's see. We're going to start
Take
with
it
you,
one
Dave.
at a time. Yeah.
Pete L. from Lewisburg, Maine writes in and says, Dave, you famously attended every athletic contest at Brown that your schedule allowed. What was your favorite team to root for?
Oh man, I don't know. That could get dark, but like we were awesome. Like back in the day, but Brown, we were ridiculous. Men's soccer was awesome. We beat Virginia and Carolina in the same weekend. I loved watching them play, and I played soccer. I had a background in soccer. Women's basketball lost in the NCAA tournament that year, '94. Martina Durant, Canadian national team, took Rebecca Lobo to all she could handle. UConn beat us by a point. Who else? Men's and women's. Men's hockey lost in the ECAC final to Harvard. They went pretty deep in the tournament. So like for me, like Brown athletics at the time was epic. And I just wanted people to know that someone cared. I came from a rich high school tradition. And, like I try to explain to people, we have 30,000 people at the Loyola Calvert football game. We have 5,000 people at Loyola lacrosse game. Like I care.
Awesome.
I care.
Yeah, I'm sure that unbridled enthusiasm is contagious up there. Andy, this one's for you. Chip G from Laddingtown Harbor, New York writes, Andy, there are but a few speeches throughout human history that stand out as completely epic. There's Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Pericles' funeral oration, and your pregame locker room speech about getting your sweet revenge after a 7th grade beatdown. That's available to watch on YouTube now. The question is, whatever happened to that punk who smoked in public?
I'm sure it was not a happy ending for you. I appreciate that question, Chip G. I will just say one thing, that entire story is 100% true.
Tremendous story.
Hey, if you look at Instagram, on the comments, the guy you kicked the shit out of, it's down below. He's down below. He's like, man, I might need to change my name.
That's great.
Andrew, I have to say the creativity of your pre-game and halftime speeches.
Well, that guy and maybe the neighbor who
Remarkable.
had a dog with an ill-placed Dugan on your lawn.
That was
That was
He's
real too. That was
looking to move,
absolutely real. I've
Love
never
it.
seen him again.
Unbelievable.
Packed up, left in the middle of the night.
We have another one from Jeff I. from Cold Spring Harbor, New York, writes in, Dave, outside of lacrosse and football tailgates, what was your favorite activity in college?
Danger.
Outside of those two, what's my favorite activity? That's a tough one, man. I don't like Brown's pretty diverse, man. I had a like really good group of friends. I met my wife at Brown too. So, but like probably hanging with Dennis Fitzgibbons, Dennis Sullivan in Kappa Sig playing pool. And then we would make mixtapes like all the time, you know.
Mixtapes. Yes.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, we were just like ripping off songs for like the next fraternity party, and we would try to like come up with something new vibe. So, you know, like you get in there and you're like overwhelmed by like the Flock of Seagulls or, you know, Big Country. That was one like set everybody off at the time. And you're like, oh, sick. This is a great jam. And like a lot of kids, by the way, a lot of kids in college at the time didn't go to like dance parties like
Right.
Kappa Sig like we had. We just took for
We had
granted.
'em.
You know, like you go down to College Park, they got frat rows, a huge fraternity house, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's standing around like, oh, what's up, dude? You know, you're like, let's dance. Let's dance.
Dance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's what we did.
Love it.
One final question comes in for you, Andy, from Sam J. from Montpelier, Vermont. He asks, Andy, what was the worst hiding spot you were ever found in, and did it involve getting stung by bees?
Sounds really close to home, Andy.
I can tell you where it was. It was probably in a dumpster behind a church in the town of Durham, New Hampshire, being pursued by the ever respectable Durham Police Department. And needless to say, they didn't catch us and find us in the dumpster. They found us when we jumped out and ran into town. Needless to say,
Bees were chasing you.
well, I didn't get stung by a bee. The answer is no, I did not. Even though I was sitting in a puddle of orange Fanta, I somehow was out of the dumpster with enough speed to make sure I didn't get stung by that bee. But I did have to go to jail for 3 days, but that's fine.
Jay, if I might interject here as your co-host for my own job security as a current head of school, I'm hoping there's going to be significant editing in this
Oh, yes.
portion of the
We
We
interview.
have the
Okay.
capability.
Okay,
Thank you, Ron.
please. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you. I mean, and Andy is a professional coach. I don't think he needs this. I mean, please.
We'll edit. It's gonna. We gotta have it.
We don't,
some of it in
and
there,
not to mention those third grade girls who are doing planks. I don't think they need those stories either.
Hey, toughen up, Buttercup.
It's still real.
Hey,
It's still
it's
very real.
keeping it real,
Very real.
and exciting and energetic. I love the energy. This is tremendous.
Oh my
you
God.
you go full circle, all the things going on in our world right now. But at the end of the day, hard work gets it done, man.
That's right.
No doubt about it.
That
Love
is
it, guys.
true.
This has been so awesome. Totally awesome.
Guys, too much
Loving
freaking
it.
fun. Can't believe it.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for all the good words. And now
And
that
thanks
we're
for
54,
staying extra long,
I,
man.
I can confidently say to you guys, I love you guys. I miss you guys, and this was fun as hell.
Love you
Yeah.
guys too. So
Great
great.
to see you guys. It's awesome.
Love you guys too.
Thank you.
It's
See you
been
guys.
Beautiful.
100%.
You're the
All right.
man.
Thank you,
And
guys.
we'll be in touch until we meet again. Here's to hoping you find the twine. We're signing off here at the Get the Lax Coop. Thanks again so much. We will see you the next time.